Hello, everybody. Welcome to Realcomm Live. I'm Lisa Woods. I'm filling in for Jim this week, and we're happy that you've chosen to join us. We have a very interesting show for you today. I'm thrilled to be talking to two people who are really walking the walk, so to speak, and are at the forefront of one of the fastest growing and most exciting technologies in commercial real estate. And that is in the area of XR, extended reality, the immersive experience of augmented, virtual, and mixed reality. We've been talking about AR, VR at Realcomm for quite some time, probably about 10 to 15 years, but the technology has never seemed to really catch on in a big way until the last few years, where we started to see a significant shift from just virtual tours and XR being a sales and marketing tool to a technology with far more valuable capabilities and practical uses. We've seen extended reality used in a host of operational applications to enable enhanced experiences for instance, tenants, contractors, building engineers, and others. So I'm really excited to hear more from our panel of experts today about what's going on in this technology and what the trends look like that are driving adoption in our industry. So let's get right to it and bring on our guests for today. I would like to welcome, first of all, Miquel Vida, who is the head of XRS at CBRE. Welcome, Miquel. It's nice to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Likewise, thank you. Very excited and looking forward for the next half an hour or so.
Great, as are we. I'm looking forward to it. Our other guest is Emily Olman. She is the CEO and founder of Hopscotch Interactive. Welcome, Emily. We're glad that you could join us as well.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Well, you both represent organizations that are right in the middle of this wave of new technology that started to, transform the market in some pretty unusual ways and has the potential to impact so many areas of real estate. I'd like to start off by having you take just a few minutes and give our audience a little background on you, how you got involved in XR, and what you do currently. So, Miquel, let's start with you.
Wow, how I get involved with XR. It's almost 3 years ago, actually. 3 years ago, I came across with this, amazing tool, smart glasses called Microsoft HoloLens, which it really, very quickly I put the dots together. I thought, wow, this is something that's going to change the way we consume content for the years to come. I'm obviously coming from VR, entertaining, and gaming. But when having been a frontline worker, a technician engineer many moons ago, I may say, I realized that the power of the technology by being able to, put that into a frontline worker head, literally, almost like wearing a laptop, and be able to take people through in what we call the spatial and ambient computing. And from there, it's actually started a bit as a project. Kind of a side desk project, and then very quickly, slowly, just grow and keep growing organically to a point that we really feel as a CBRE business there was really something to this, and we need to go and see this beyond a gimmick, beyond a nice, sort of innovation project, and really put that into the field and start to understand how that works. And so that's been a sort of almost 2-3 years journey, all the way from a conceptual pet project all the way where we are now in building and productizing this as a full program across CBRE.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Emily, what about Hopscotch Interactive? Can you tell us a little bit about the company and how you came to create it?
Yes, absolutely. So, my background is actually in advertising and marketing. So, in my early career, I worked in the gaming industry and also in Japanese anime. So, working on video on demand technology. And about 5.5 years ago, I was able to demo virtual reality for the first time, and I was really blown away because, from the perspective of a marketing professional, for me, the ability to have full immersion and to be able to transport someone somewhere else was a profound experience for me personally. And I found myself having this aha moment that, because at that same time, Matterport had just come out or had become something that was available to us. And so I got interested in 3D photography. And the 3D photography for me was a way to enable me to become not just somebody who consumed the content, but who could create the content and who could become a storyteller, telling stories about places and being able to transport people to places. That then opened the door for me in so many ways for XR. Augmented reality became something I was very interested in. It didn't really stop at virtual reality, it just expanded, but it was always about the built environment, the physical environment, or showing something that was not yet built. And so for me, the more I learned, the more I understood that this was going to be a real means of communication into the future. And so I started Hopscotch Interactive to help educate, to create, and to really, I would say, evangelize XR for real estate. And that was the entire sort of beginning of the company. We're in the Bay Area. And I've also been a community builder for XR for the last several years. So that's the beginning. That's the origin story.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So, as I mentioned before, AR, VR, and immersive reality has been around a good number of years, and the technology is really interesting and innovative. I mean, you can hear the energy and passion when you guys talk about that and talk about your experience and why you do what you do. So, why has it taken so long for the industry to catch on? Would have been some of the impediments to maybe a more widespread adoption. Emily, we'll start with you on this one.
So I think some of the impediments to adoption come from, if you look back over the last decade or so, certainly in the beginning it was cost prohibitive, and it was something that was really in the hands of people that were selling expensive solutions to folks. And I think that what you can see is that since, for example, even the iPhone, which came out in 2006, right now, mobile experiences, the internet, handheld devices, price, and those things are really helping us, but it still requires a motivation. You still have to be motivated to understand the technology, to be patient, and so we have more things coming, like WebXR, where you can simply go to a URL and then get an experience through a QR code or through a URL. Those things will enable us, but I think that it has been historically something that people struggled with because they felt like they didn't want to fumble through using something and possibly not know how to fix that. And you have so little time, especially leasing agents. They have seconds, and they are definitely, they want to be able to go quickly and not have something fail. So I think that was a real impediment early on.
Miquel, what do you think?
So I would agree with Emily with the initial thoughts around being price or cost prohibitive, and to a certain extent today across XR, VR, AR, and MR, people can still see that as a bit of a high price tag. Having said that, to me, there is no doubt whatsoever that when you just put a few numbers together, and really put a strong program in place, the return on investment on that is, we talk about, double, triple, quadruple, no doubt about that whatsoever. Having said that, the second point, I think also Emily mentioned it. Yeah, we talk about the high price tag. Even though these are going down, and down, more and more and more. But also for me, even the more important one, I would say even than the first one, is having the right leadership, the right drivers, the right evangelists within business, within accounts, within driving these programs. And to me, that's crucial. People just buy those things, one off here and one off there. They try, they test it, they get excited, and then move on, and they go back to their paper clipboard and a pencil, and happy to stay in their comfort zone. Unless you have those drivers within the business pushing things forward, building the pilots, building the proof of concept, case studies, putting together the teams, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much sexy and great of the technology is, unless you have these people driving that within inside, and you building those leaders and evangelists driving those through. It's a loose battle from day one.
Right.
And that's the two things I would say.
I'd like to jump on to that, if I may, because I think
Sure.
to take it a step further, think about making a website. Back in the early days when the internet came out, that was something that was really hard to do, right? So it was also that if you didn't know how to write HTML, or if you didn't know how to create a website, there was no drag and drop. There was no easy way to use it. And so if you were to even ask that leadership today, or people in an organization, you have the tool, but how are you going to make something out of it? How are you going to make something compelling? And I think until people realize that it is as easy as dragging and dropping to make a website, to share a compelling experience, or to record, or to have 3D content accessible. I have clients who still struggle with just a URL. So there's definitely a learning curve for people, and they have to be motivated to do that. But it's leadership, and it's also knowing how to use it, just knowing that it's easy. And I think when they try it, they're much more confident in it, but it's that confidence missing still for a lot of people.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to getting more in detail about some of the use cases and some of the things that you guys are seeing specifically. But we're going to take a quick break to recognize one of our technology partners, BRAINBOX AI. Then we'll be right back. Thank you, BRAINBOX. Now back to our conversation. If you joined us a little bit late, we're talking with Miquel Vida with CBRE and Emily Olman with Hopscotch Interactive. So Miquel, you're doing some pretty interesting and exciting things at CBRE, and I think our audience is really interested in that particular story. Can you tell us how that got off the ground and what you're doing over there?
So how it got off the ground, again, based what I was saying just recently before that great commercial, is around, and also touching what Emily is important. Let's not try to, boil the seed from day one. Identify a very clear use case scenario with your team, with your division. Identify one, no 10, no 15, one, and build on that. My motto, as Emily knows, think big, but start small. Fail quicker and learn even more quicker. And that's where we started. We started with a very small proof of concept, a very unique, use case, and then from there you build from it. You start to build and create some content, case studies, ROIs, all these things that senior management love and clients beyond the technology. And then from there, slowly but surely grow organically and trying to expand. Again, in a measured way, don't trying to go and start to deploy all sort of use cases, all sort of different scenarios. Build with what you learn, and start and grow from there. And what we learn very, very quickly is that this without any doubt is going to be a disruptor across all sectors. Never mind retail, never mind our business. Ultimately, that's going to be touching across all levels. And we are lucky enough to be having some of that adoption in terms of technology. But in CBRE, we truly believe on what we call the augmented worker. The augmented worker ultimately is going to be that individual which you'll be able to have an extension of reality where you can bring the two worlds together, the digital and the physical world. A bit like, the same of disruption that assets and machinery and buildings went through the IoT. IoT went through that phase where ultimately you make assets, buildings, and machines better connected, more productive, more efficient. So we truly believe with this technology, either through spatial or ambient computing, through the enable of the devices, either headsets, you're going to have a new line of workers. You have the frontline worker, which basically are folks out there holding tools with their hands, dealing with the clients, daily, and the information worker, which is what I am at the moment, just sitting behind a desk from an office. But this technology will create a new category of worker, which what we started to call the augmented worker, where you ultimately have the content when you need it, in situ, in context. And that for me is crucial. And the technology evolved with the arrival of 5G, digital twins. Ultimately, you have an enabler here in your head. Smart glasses now, in a few years, lenses. Who knows? But ultimately, through that vision, you'll be able to have your world at a glance, and that's very, very powerful.
And I want to talk to you a little bit more in a few minutes about the 5G and what role that plays going forward. But you were talking about glasses, Emily. I understand that you're using VR to enhance human resource training and some other initiatives with the Oculus Quest technology inside your own company, as well as some of the things that you're doing for clients. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's going on there and what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 6 people on my team. My team is small. CBRE, I think, has 100,000 employees. So they're in a really different position than I am, right? So with 6 people, I have a closed, I have a closed circuit, I guess, if you will, where it's easy for me to deploy and to test very quickly with my whole team. And so also we're all remote. We're all working from home. And so I have all 6 of my employees have Oculus Quest 2s. And so we meet in VR occasionally, and we'll go into alt space, or we'll just go to have fun. But also in 2021, we're actually waiting our turn to be able to get HR training. In California, have over 5 employees, you have to do sexual harassment training. You have to do all sorts of different trainings with your team. And so we are going to be, we'll be subscribing to HR training for my team in VR. And it's, for me, the natural way to do it. The impact of doing something in VR or to experiencing something in VR is a way for a small company like mine to have a very, professional and impactful HR training. But it goes all the way, it can be used to solve so many problems. That's just one example of virtual reality. I know that Miquel is using it for frontline workers, right? So what I always think when I talk to my clients is, well, what is the problem that you have? And will one of these extended reality technologies help you? Do you need to do a remote site visit? Do you not want to send an executive on a plane? Do you have a building engineer who's retiring and you need to get a knowledge transfer started? Maybe that's what a wearable device would be good for. So I think that we have to think first about the problem and then think about the solution, not the other way around.
Right. Right. Well, and I think that that we don't want to leave the show without giving some practical advice and making sure that some of the organizations that are listening and are interested in starting down a journey around extended reality, that they know what to do and that they know how to get started. So should organizations start, and Miquel, you mentioned something about this a few minutes ago about not trying to boil the ocean, but should organizations start with a singular goal in mind, like one application that they want to do, one thing that they want to accomplish? Or do you think organizations should look more across the board and have a more comprehensive strategy in mind when they start thinking about investing in extended reality and what they want to do with this technology?
In my experience, both. You want to think big. You want to make sure you have a vision, but you also want to make sure you start with a small and a simple use case. So in that sense, it would be both. Yes, start simple, build from there, but also know where you want to go and build the program around that. Because ultimately it goes back to the people. And for me, again, from my experience, what some things failed and why things don't take off, or it's nothing to do with technology. As Emily knows, the technology is there, it's working. The thing I find fascinating is when you tell people, they are wow, I couldn't believe you could do that. Wow, that's amazing. The most feedback I get when I go through the training, when I present, we feel like Tony Stark here from the Avengers, or Minority Report with minus Tom Cruise, obviously. But people not realizing this technology is available, and when you put it on and they realize it, you see they smile, they start to get together, the dots, putting the dots together, and they get it. I mean, by no means that's the end. Then there needs to be a very strong change management and a strong adoption strategy. Otherwise people put it on, have it overplay, they see it, and then they put it back on the drawer because they are very comfortable where they always done. And as they say, if you don't broke, don't fix it. So try to fix it, be a disruptor, try new things, bring new innovation. And that's the thing we're missing, are having more entrepreneurs like Emily, pushing that through, being an advocate and getting the word out there. Because ultimately, whether we like it or not, guys, this is coming. With the announcement of Facebook this year with eyeglasses, Apple, which I think now goes beyond rumors, with next year the mix/virtual reality headset and the Apple Glass in 2023, Google Glass, Amazon, RealWear, Nwear, they're all working on that, spending billions, and that's going to happen. And as soon as it hits the consumer level, then everyone is going to jump into it. So Emily and I will be ready for it.
We're ready.
Well, and we're quickly running out of time, but I did want to ask about 5G and how that played, what role that plays in, in your strategy when you're looking at how to really put things together and have all of the fundamentals in place. So Emily, how do owners and organizations that are looking to implement a strategy, what do they need to consider with regard to 5G?
I think just, as we move into this era of spatial computing, 5G is fatter pipes, bigger broadband, the ability for us to place augmentations in the real world. So many types of things we'll be able to do in the built environment with 5G. It's only going to enable more things for us.
And if I may, what 5G is going to allow is taking the size of these devices, Oculus, Microsoft, Google Glass, all down to this size, because all the computing is going to happen to the cloud. All you need here is a connectivity device to enable information which is processed to the cloud. So when you have 5G, you can reduce the glasses all down to spec glasses. Right. And I think to me, 5G is going to be crucial.
Well, I have so many other questions. I had a ton of questions, and as predicted by Jim, we wouldn't get through many of them. So we're going to have you guys come back and talk some more about this. But it's been really good talking with you. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. Miquel, thank you for taking the time to be on the show. It was really a great discussion. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience got some great takeaways from it too. So please come back and join us, and thank you for being here.
Likewise, it's been great. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. And now we'll bring on Howard Berger for an overview of the headlines coming up this week in Realcomm News.
This was fantastic. So as we do every week, here's a sampling of some featured stories from our weekly news briefing, which is released every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific. Subscription's free. Just sign up, go to our website, realcomm.com, and click on news. So for those of you who tuned into the show last week, you met Randy Norton, founder and chairman of Multi-Green Properties. You heard about his ambitious objective to build 40,000 attainable, sustainable multifamily units to serve a workforce which is badly in need of adequate, affordable, tech-enabled housing. And the plan is to deliver all these by 2030. So in the article this week, Randy articulates how he's driving efficiencies in the development and construction processes using things like BIM and modern construction technologies. And then post-construction, how he's developing an interoperable technology stack, which will enable facility management, as well as all the back office functions from supply chain to investor reporting. And this tech strategy is being assembled into a replicatable set of development and operational processes and workflows, and what they refer to as the multi-green way, including something called building as a service, which is an approach to smart home technologies and enhanced digital amenities. All of this information coming from all these systems is going to roll up into a data-rich single pane of glass. So I'd encourage you all to read about what Randy and his team at Multi-Green are doing. And I believe they're going to have a big impact on multifamily development for years to come. Next, what does a COVID-safe skyscraper look like? So there was a December study from Pew Research that found that 71% of the workers who reported their job responsibilities can mainly be done from home were still working from home most or all the time. And that group reported, more than half of that group reported they choose to continue working from home after the pandemic ends. No surprise. So here's the challenge. How do you make a hermetically sealed high-rise tower serviced by elevators attractive to workers again? And how do you convince millions of Americans who are used to working from home in their pajamas that it's time to get back in the car or back on that morning subway and return to the office? Enter RAL companies and their Zero Irving high-rise office project in New York. This building features touchless experiences for tenants all the way from the street to the desk, coupled with highly configurable HVAC systems to maximize, excuse me, maximize indoor air quality, including MERV 13 performance, and the option for tenants to actually add things like passive bipolar ionization into their tenant spaces. So there's lots more here. Great read. And then finally, to wrap, a recent survey by Eden Health indicated that 9 out of 10 senior execs representing a variety of office-centric firms said that they're going to require vaccinations for office return, but 70% said that they plan to offer vaccinations on site to their workforce when they're available, and he may even offer incentives for employees to get vaccinated. I find this interesting that we're starting to hear about mandating vaccinations related to the workplace. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, I am hoping against hope that, that all of us will be looking at COVID in the rearview mirror very soon. So with that, I'm out of time. That's it for me today, but there's much more in our weekly briefing. Check it out, and I'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Howard. You always do such a great job summarizing the news of the week. I enjoy listening to that. We're going to take one more quick commercial break to hear from Cone Resnick, and then we'll be back to wrap things up. And we're back. I want to thank our guest speakers who took the time to be on the show. Thank you so much. I also want to thank our incredible technology partners for all of their support. And we thank you, of course, our viewers, for showing up to watch another episode of Realcomm Live. Join us again right here next Friday for a very special chat with our friends down in Texas who've been dealing with some extra challenging circumstances. We'll be talking with Jesse Carrillo at Hines and Clint Osteen at Granite Properties. Jesse is in Houston and Clint is just outside Dallas in Plano. Our episode deals with, when you least expect it, a look at business continuity and disaster recovery. Thank you again for joining us. I hope you have a good day and a great weekend. Thanks.